It all started when the carnival came to town. Everyone talked about how creepy it looked, especially the old, broken rides and the faded tents. But the funhouse of Chuckles the Clown was different. It stood tall, bright, and weirdly clean, like it didn't belong. Kids loved it, but some kids didn't come out. That's where it happened. That's where my little brother Tommy begged me to take him. "It's just a fun house," he said, holding his stuffed rabbit. I didn't want to go, but he kept asking. I didn't want to seem scared. We bought our tickets and walked in. The door groaned as it opened, and the air inside smelled like mold and something rotten. The walls were painted with stripes, and carnival music played, faintly, sounding like a broken music box. Tommy ran ahead, laughing and pointing at the mirrors that made us look funny. But I felt something was wrong. The air was too heavy. And then I heard it, a wet, squishy sound, like someone biting into raw meat. "Did you hear that?" I asked Tommy. He just shook his head, but he looked nervous now. The hallway got darker and darker, and the smell got worse. It was like something was rotting deep in the funhouse. Tommy stopped walking when we reached a room with dim, flickering lights. That's when we saw him. Chuckles. He was sitting in a corner, his big clown shoes splashing in a dark puddle on the floor. His face paint was smeared, and his grin looked too wide, like it had been cut into his face. He wasn't holding balloons or juggling. He was holding a shoe, a kid's shoe. It was stained red. Chuckles turned his head to look at us. His neck made a horrible cracking sound. His eyes were huge, like they were going to pop out of his face. "What's the matter, kids? Don't you like the show?" he said, his voice deep and scratchy. Tommy screamed, and I grabbed his hand. We tried to run, but the hallway behind us wasn't there anymore. There was just a mirror, but it wasn't showing us. It was showing Chuckles behind us, even though he hadn't moved. The floor shifted, tilting like a slide, and we fell into a pit. We landed hard in a dark, wet room. The walls were slimy and the floor was covered in bones, small bones. Tommy started crying. "I want to go home," he sobbed, holding on to me. But then Chuckles appeared. His tall, crooked body came out of the shadows. His smile was even bigger now, his teeth long and yellow. "Nobody leaves the funhouse," he said, laughing softly. He grabbed Tommy before I could do anything. Tommy screamed, and I tried to pull him back, but Chuckles was too strong. His mouth opened wider than I thought possible, and I heard crunching as he bit down. Blood splattered everywhere. I couldn't move. I couldn't scream. I just watched as he ate my brother when he was done. He looked at me, wiping his mouth with his dirty glove. "Don't worry," he said. "You'll be next." I don't remember how I got out. Maybe he let me go to tell others. Or maybe it's just part of his game. All I know is I hear his laughter sometimes, even when I'm far from the carnival. And I'll never forget the sound of my brother's screams. Stumbled out of the funhouse as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in streaks of orange and purple. The world outside felt unreal, like a cruel joke. People milled around, laughing, playing games, eating cotton candy, oblivious to the horror that lurked just meters away. I was covered in blood, Tommy's blood. My hands shook, my knees buckled, and I collapsed onto the dirt. A woman screamed when she saw me, but her voice sounded muffled, distant. Someone asked if I was hurt. Another tried to grab my shoulder, but I shoved them away, screaming. "He's still in there. He's still in there." They didn't understand. They wouldn't. and when I turned back to point at the funhouse, it was gone. The spot where it stood was empty, just a patch of flattened grass and a faint smell of rot hanging in the air. No one believed me. The carnival staff swore there had never been a funhouse, and the police thought I'd gone crazy. They searched the grounds, but they found nothing. No bones, no blood, no Chuckles. Tommy was written off as another missing child, another tragic case in a town that had seen too many of them. Weeks passed, then months. Life went on, but not for me. My parents couldn't look at me without bursting into tears. I dropped out of school. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Tommy's face, frozen in terror, and heard that horrible crunching sound. Then one night I heard it again, the laughter,